So if we have anxiety, constant stress, or what we call mental illness, that's because the energy doesn't stop swirling within the head. If we're suffering from depression, that's because there's an overabundance of stagnant energy that is sitting in the emotional body. When you start to work with your energy properly and you remove it out of the mental body and out of the emotional body, you're simply present. There's no way to think and emote when there's no energy up here and there's no energy in the emotional body. Anxiety, stress, and depression, it stops. If we have feelings of sadness, depression, anger, lust, jealousy, pick one, right? So these things arise for a reason. And when we meet these things, instead of ruminating on them and identifying with them, Sean, if we simply meet these things with pure presence, pure awareness, that I am is so supremely high frequency, it will alchemize the low frequency emotions that are coming up, and we'll be able to move right past it. Let's make no bones about it. It's brainwashing. That's what that is. That's that voice in your head that doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. It is your subconscious patterned egoic mind. It's not what you really are, because you're the awareness of that voice in your head, and it's why that voice in your head drives you crazy, because it's not you. We cannot heal ourselves by operating from a state of disharmony. Okay, that's like asking cancer to cure itself.
Why is this the most important book that's ever landed in our hands?
Yeah, it is the most important. But thank you for saying that, Peter. It is the most important book because it's the teachings, the protocols, the exercises, and the enlightened understandings that are contained within that book are the only way that you can actually reclaim your sovereignty in your own mind. The only way that you can fulfill your life purpose is if you own your own mind. Otherwise, whose life purpose are you actually fulfilling? Right? Who does it belong to? Clearly, the Matrix, right? Or whatever word you want to use to describe what goes on here. But we have to own our own mind in order to execute our life plan. And the only way to own your own mind is to deprogram everything that has been put into the subconscious patterned egoic mind. Without that, we are recycling experiences. There is no healing. There is no ascension. There is no cleansing of the ancestral line. There is no, there it is behind me, my friend, right? There is no ascending the frequencies if we're still sort of just moving the furniture around in the same room. And that's what as a way to say it, that's kind of what we're doing, right? If we don't deprogram, it's just what's floating around here, and we're going to recycle it. And our body, our genetic entity, our physical vehicle is essentially our ancestors. This is what this is. So all the societal conditioning, all the thought patterns, all the emotional patterns, all the trauma that's occurred throughout our entire lineage is embedded within the cells. And so until we go all the way back to the source point, cleanse it and reclaim our own mind, we're going to recycle the experiences. So it's essential, and that's why we were talking about before we started recording. It truly is a worthy sequel, from my perspective. It's truly a worthy sequel to Supercharged Self-Healing, and it's essential for everyone to be able to fulfill their life plan, because you must own your own mind.
Absolutely. So many of us are blindly, especially in the 144, those of us who are raised in dysfunction and with a lot of pathological narcissism around, and toxic codependency, which are pretty much two opposite ends of the same spectrum. We are blindly repeating these patterns that we grew up, what we modeled growing up, and we have no understanding of why we keep recycling, why we keep bringing the same people into our lives, right? Why we keep doing the same mindless things over and over, why we keep choosing the wrong people, why we always settle. Right? Is it true that if we have one limitation in our life, if we believe in one limitation, it bleeds into and just infects every area of our lives?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is done unconsciously or through the subconscious. And obviously, just by the name subconscious, our conscious mind does not have direct access to the subconscious. So as soon as there's a limitation program within the subconscious in any facet of your life, because we can't necessarily at their core separate these things out, we have compartmentalized and fragmented and separated ourselves. But once there's a program in there, it bleeds, it just filters into everything, and we don't realize it because it's buried within the subconscious mind. So as soon as there's a limitation over here, we will be unconscious about how that limitation is affecting our relationship with our significant other, our mom, our dad, our brother, our friends, or business partner, whatever it is. They cannot be separated out. So every single limitation program has to be addressed. And the only way to address it is to return to and question the core motivation behind your every thought, emotion, action, and behavior. And once you bring that programming, all those, and they're all limitations. Once you bring that limitation into your conscious mind, you can delete it just like a computer program. And one of the things, let me ramble on for a second, Peter, because what else is new, right? So I was talking with Jeff Mishlove, right? New Thinking Aloud. So we hadn't spoken in about a year and a half. And I think he's interviewed me 6 times or 7 times or something like that, right? Now he's a psychologist. He's not a practicing psychologist, but he did it for 30 years or 40 years, whatever. So he kept asking me, like, why is Change Your Mind and these exercises and these protocols more effective, or is it more effective, RJ, than traditional therapy? And so I explained to him that, Jeff, traditional therapy is still about the identity. It's still your story, my thoughts, my experiences. There's still ownership and identification, which is why people go to therapy for 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, right? There's no graduation because there's still identification with what's going on. When you work with the teachings of, as you know, when you work with the teachings of change or supercharged, when you work with these teachings, there's the detachment and non-identification. So once there's non-identification, it leaves you. Mission accomplished. Otherwise, you're still telling yourself, I'm not saying these things didn't happen, right? The traumatic, they happen. Of course they happen. But you don't see it as you. You realize the truth, that you're the awareness of it and the co-creator of it. And at that moment that you're no longer identified with it, you can actually leave it and transcend it, which is why the teachings of Change Your Mind are superior on every level to any sort of psychotherapy or any other psychobabble that's being used today on this planet.
What about mental illness? If you're having a mental health problem, how do you heal yourself from that?
This is the exact same protocols and understandings. They work the same way. If we're talking about anxiety or stress or depression, I did a whole video on that, by the way. For those that sign up for my newsletter, I do videos all the time. I describe exactly what that is and how that works. So that has to do with an overabundance of energy in the mental body and or the emotional body. So if we have anxiety, constant stress, or what we call mental illness, that's because the energy doesn't stop swirling within the head. If we're suffering from depression, that's because there's an overabundance of stagnant energy that is sitting in the emotional body. So healing, it doesn't matter what the problem is. It's irrelevant. Okay, because they're all subsets of your ego mind identity. When you start to work with your energy properly and you remove it out of the mental body and out of the emotional body, you're simply present. There's no way to think and emote when there's no energy up here and there's no energy in the emotional body. Anxiety, stress, and depression, it stops. This is the whole part of this new understanding of what to do with ourselves. It doesn't matter what the illness is. When we work with the self directly, it transcends anything that's going on with the body mind.
Well, I'll tell you this much. For those of us who've gone to therapy for years, like myself and so many of the other people who have been completely epically failed, and not only failed, but actually had our situations exacerbated by constantly keeping our focus on these quote unquote traumas from an unawakened perspective, and therefore solidifying them as part of our identity or our ego mind identity. This is the new Bible for healing trauma right here, Supercharged Self-Healing. Before I even got my hands on this incredible book, I was able to cure years and years and years of toxic codependency and dysfunction, right down to my addictions and compulsions. And I was probably one of the worst cases I've ever seen with this incredible book, The Wisdom That Transcends Knowledge and Supercharged Self-Healing. So I can't thank you enough for that, Mr. R. We've been failed epically by the healthcare field, the sick care field, and conventional psychology has epically failed us. And literally within weeks and months of coming in contact with the wisdom that transcends knowledge, all of that was alchemized.
So we've used the word ego, egoic mind, the false self, the shadow self, except they're all the same thing. Okay, what I've found through my own awareness or awakening, or however you want to say that, is that there's something a little more specific. I call it the ego mind identity. It's who we think we are, how we feel about ourselves, and then therefore how we sort of create our universe, una meaning one, how we create our reality. Okay. Now, if we can start to understand that our human personality is based upon and it forms through incarnation. So everything that we identify with, starting with the physical form, EMI, ego mind identity, identification with the physical form. Now, that is the foundation of our false character, our egoic mind. Now, as soon as you identify with the biological garment that we're wearing, you're going to start identifying with your thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations, and the experiences that your body has. Meanwhile, you're none of those things. You existed before them. You're going to exist after. And we are simply the awareness of all of these things. Now, if we add all together, all of our identifications, beliefs, concepts, ideologies, so-called knowledge, and starting with the body, if you put them all together, that is your ego, mind, identity. It's all the things that you have aligned yourself with since you got here. None of it is actually you. Now, that creates a we could call it a low frequency force field or electromagnetic interference, because the signals are everything that's coming outside of you, beliefs, concepts, ideologies that we align ourselves that's here. So it is a false signal from a purely physics perspective. That's why it also stands for electromagnetic interference. Now, what we really are before we got here and what we'll be when we're done being here is the true self. That is the signal that we need to align our mind and body to. And this is what we call awakening. And eventually, if you continue with that sort of process, this is what enlightenment, self-healing, and self-realization actually produces, right? So it's the letting go or non-identification with thoughts, emotions, bodily and bodily sensations, and realizing the tangible truth that you're the awareness of these things. You're not the thing. One cannot be the awareness and the victim at the same time. These teachings have been with humanity forever, and they have been taken away. They have been taken away, make no mistake about that, and replaced with utter nonsense. And those days are over. These teachings are back where they belong, which is in humanity's hands.
Beautiful, beautiful. We can't thank you enough. The impact you've made has been tangible, and it's been apparent, right? The truth is immediate and tangible, and only the truth heals. And that's happening in front of people's eyes as they watch me evolve through your self-mastery course, day after day, week after week, month after month. I've only gone through half the course now, so you guys have only seen half the transformation. So stay tuned. You say, one of the things you say that lifts a lot of eyebrows. There's quite a few things you say that lift a lot of eyebrows. One of them is that our unawakened mind is the matrix. Can you go into detail on what does that mean? We're so conditioned to believe in duality that the matrix is something out there and that we're victimized by. Can you tell us, what does it mean that our unawakened mind is the matrix?
Okay, that's a great question. So let's do well, it's sort of me going on and on. I'm trying not to go on and on. Okay, so let's think of Plato's cave, the allegory of Plato's cave, right? Okay, so they're shackled in a cave and they're mesmerized and transfixed and held captive by shadows on a cave wall. I'm summarizing, obviously, right? Okay, but the main gist is that they are literally chained and captivated and enthralled and subjugated simply by shadows on a cave wall. Now, because they believe it's real, it becomes real. Let me just say that again. Because they believe it's real, it becomes real, because your reality is simply created by what you believe to be real and true. That's how reality is created. Now, the other part of, again, I'm summarizing, the other part of Plato's cave is that someone finally wakes up, and this has to do with ego, mind, identity, and enlightenment. That's what he was talking about, still talking about. So someone realizes the truth, that this isn't real. This isn't real. This is that they want me to believe in this, and I have freed myself from this. So he escapes. Now, the escape is the escape from the tyranny of the finite egoic mind, or enlightenment, or self-realization. And he's free. And what is the first thing that he does, the character in the story, what is the first thing that he does once he realizes he's free? He rushes right back in to try to free everybody. And what is the reaction? You're crazy. What are you talking about? You're nuts. That's how it works, by the way. So the understanding of, if we present something, I call this perception management. Okay, and when I'm talking about body consciousness, because they cannot use perception management for higher intuitive functionality, which is the key, right? To see past the veil into the realm of wisdom and knowingness. which the body consciousness can never do. That's not the point of this. That's not the point of it. Okay, so perception management is essentially controlling the information that our five senses can perceive. Now, once that's presented and you believe it to be real and true, we then build it for them. The subconscious pattern egoic mind is the matrix, as we create based upon our belief in the authenticity and the reality of the perception management. So they throw it out there and we build it. So we are the egoic mind, the subconscious pattern egoic mind actually is the matrix itself. We then project it out there, and that becomes the solidified reality or the universe within the multiverse that we create for ourselves. And so the matrix is actually created through that, not the other way around. There is no matrix if we don't believe it to be real and true. There's nothing there then. Nothing. So that's, let me calm down. So this is, you're used to that now, right? It's self-mastery class. So that's what I mean by saying that the subconscious pattern egoic mind is actually the reality creator of the matrix. One cannot be the awareness and the victim at the same time. That is impossible. Now, what happens, Michelle, what happens is that we lose ourselves in what it is that we have created. Now, we have created an incarnation. Now, we lose ourselves in the creation. Now, the paramount understanding that stops this whole process is to realize the painter is not the painting. This is a creation. Now, we lose ourselves in the creation, which is why we get carried away with thoughts, emotions, the bodily sensations. And this is how all sickness and disease is manifest. This is how anxiety, depression, addiction, and attachment is manifest, because we've lost ourselves in the creation itself. Instead of being, we'll say, detached or non-identification and realizing that we're just the awareness of everything that is going on. And another analogy that will hit home for people is think about the sun. Mm-hmm. The sun is completely and utterly unaffected by the weather that goes on here. I don't care how much it rains, snows, sleet, hurricane, tornado for a day, for a week, for 100 years. Does any of this touch the sun? No, it's unscathed, it's unharmed, it's unaffected by the bad weather. We are the sun, and we are untouched, unscathed, and unaffected by everything that goes on with the body-mind. We are the awareness of what goes on with the body-mind. And when we lose ourselves in identification with what goes on with the body-mind, we create the experience of suffering. And along with suffering comes sickness, disease, decrepitude, and eventual demise. But the truth of the matter is, all of us are the sun, and nothing here touches us. Nothing.
So one of the things that we can do if someone is struggling emotionally, right? Let's say depression, right? Or anxiety or an overactive mind, right? We can do that first thing that I showed you because it's really incredible. So let's say we're upset about whatever, right? Just ask yourself, who is it that is upset right now? Me, I am. Who am I? Instant dissipation.
I love it how you just go blank.
Yeah, because it's a story. The whole thing is a story. It's not what we are. And these are real, this is metaphysics. And metaphysics are what we used to call magic. We're moving energy. Now, I can see the energy that we're moving, right? So this is part of how I developed this stuff, because I could actually see what I was doing, or the information I was being given, or what I remembered, which is probably all the same thing, really. The story that we tell ourselves is the obstacle. So when we watch a movie, we know those characters aren't real. We know that. Neither is yours. It's just as fake. It's a story you tell yourself. Because as soon as you question it, it disappears.
Now, how this works is anytime you have a thought. Okay, now thoughts are all in relation in context to something that we have already misidentified ourselves with. a belief, a concept, a role, an ideology, an experience. That's number one. We have already misidentified ourselves. Now, without that attachment, you can't think. But because we have these attachments through the full immersion of the human experience, when a thought pops into your head, and I don't care what the thought is about, because that thought's not you. So any thought that you have, right? What am I going to have for lunch? I don't care what the thought is, right? Ask yourself this question. To whom has this thought arisen? The answer that you will get will be, to me. I'm the one having this thought. And then ask yourself, who am I? Okay. Mind goes blank. Okay. Absolutely no answer. Okay. Because the ego mind identity is a shadow. And as soon as you shine a light upon the shadow, it disappears. Now there's no more character. There's no more electromagnetic interference. Now what's happened is the energy that was in that circular profile within your mental body, and the energy circulates within the mental body based upon what the lower astral has attached itself to. So like a slinky going down the stairs, whatever you have attached yourself to in your lower astral, your deep-rooted beliefs, your deep-rooted identifications, that's the information that then takes the next step down like a slinky, and that's the information that gets circulated within your head. So that's why I said thoughts are in relation and context to what it is that we've identified ourselves with. Now, when you question it, right, to whom has this thought arisen? To me, I'm the one having this thought. Who am I? No answer. Now, what happens is the energy that was circulating in your mental body returns to its source point within the body itself. And when we're incarnate, the source point is just beneath the belly button above the groin. Now, as soon as you do that, you are present, and you'll realize the story that you have been telling yourself is not you at all. It's just electromagnetic interference. It's just information that's circulating in your mental body based upon misperceptions, misunderstandings, and misidentifications. So if you question it very simply with any thought, to whom has this thought arisen? To me, I'm the one having this thought. Who am I? The programming stops. You become present. Now, the more that you just simply stay present, you'll realize that that spell, that story that you have been telling yourself is not you. It's simply something that you're aware of. That's all. It's just part of the movie that you're aware of. And the more that you maintain that space as the awareness and not misidentifying and losing yourself in the thought, the more you realize that you are creating this whole situation, that you've always created this whole situation, that it's always your doing. Who's doing? Who's could it be? And remember, you are the awareness of everything that's going on. So question the story by doing self-inquiry, and eventually the habituation of thinking will start to die down because you'll stop giving your thoughts such gravitas because you won't be identifying with them anymore. You'll realize thoughts are something you're aware of. You're not the thoughts. If you were your thoughts, when your thoughts pass, you would pass too. Yet here you remain. If you were your experiences, when your experience passed, you'd pass too. And we're right here, right now. If you were your emotions, when your emotions pass, you would pass too. Yet we're here today on the live stream. Okay? You're none of these things. So you don't have to give them weight. You don't have to give them gravitas. And the starting point of this is just as you pointed out, Peter, just question it. Instead of acting upon and reacting to thoughts, bathing them with emotion, right? Ruminating on them, charging your body with electricity, and then you take actions on your thoughts. Stop. Don't do that anymore, everybody. Stop. Don't take action on your thoughts. No one else is going to tell you that, but don't take action on your thoughts. Those thoughts are not you. Question it, and eventually the questioner disappears. So instead of running with the question, I got to find out, I got to get an answer, let me investigate this. Nope. Eventually the questioner disappears. And that questioner is the ego mind identity. And once the questioner is gone, what remains is what is eternal. The I am, you.
How does one help to center enough to get rid of those unhelpful thoughts that do come in when we're trying to be fully still or fully present?
Yeah, what we have to understand is that the voice in the head, okay, is your ego mind, or what I call the ego mind identity, okay, who you think you are, the voice in your head. Okay, we have to realize that the voice in your head is just the conditioning the mental conditioning that occurs upon incarnation here. It's not authentically you. And that's easy to see that because you're the awareness of the voice in your head. You're the one who's listening to it. So you cannot be the voice in the head and the one who's listening to it. So it's rather obvious that we're not the voice in the head. That's just our programming. So what we have to do is just allow our energy. And here's the analogy that I use. It's in the book as well. We've all seen a bathtub or a sink or a pool, the water draining down from a bathtub or a sink, whatever, right? Okay. Now, we use energy for everything. Now, the reason why we keep thinking is because we have so much energy in our mental body. Okay. If we want to stop thinking and meditate easily, perpetually, is just to have develop some facility over our use of our energy. So the analogy is just like water draining from a sink, let the energy drop down out of your head, like water draining from a bathtub. Let it drop all the way down, past your chin, to your throat. Now your mind's blank. You can't think. Let the energy drop all the way down past your chest, past your tummy, all the way down to just beneath your belly button, above your groin. That's the gas tank where our energy sits in our body. Just let it sit there. Not through effort, just like water dropping down, draining from a bathtub. And then just stay there through relaxation. And you'll realize the mind is completely clear. And when you do that over and over and over again, we get good at what we do repeatedly. You practice just that one thing over and over again, it will become so easy to be completely present. And that negative doubt, that negative self-talk in the head will cease to exist because we have learned how to control energy. When the energy is in the head, the voice in the head won't stop talking. When the energy has dropped down, like water draining from a bathtub, and sits just beneath the belly button, mind is clear, emotions are stable. And now our intuitive wisdom will start to come online. We don't have to wonder what to do. What am I supposed to do in this life? What is the best thing to do? When you're quiet inside, every answer will waft up from your heart, and it'll literally fill your mind, and you'll know exactly what to do, when to do it, with whom, what to say, what not to say, how to say it. We are guided perpetually, and the wisdom is inside us. All we have to do is be quiet enough to hear it.
Right? Now, most of us know at this point that if we're full of anxiety and all this kind of stuff, we're really wigging out about whatever, we make ourselves sick. Most people have now come to, thank goodness, right? We now know we have to take care of ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, right? We're at that level where I'm making myself sick because I'm so stressed out. Okay. Whatever conceptualized reality that we create for ourselves, the body then has the tangible experience of that, right? That's the mind-body connection in one sentence. Okay. We now know that if we make ourselves crazy, so to speak, we make ourselves sick. Jeff, the other side of that is also true. So by experiencing an increased or expanded state of consciousness, the body also has the tangible experience of that as well. And this is part of the paradigm shift. For some reason, we thought it only worked one way. It does not. It works the other way as well. So through this tremendous expanded state of consciousness, your body has that experience as well. And in this expanded state of consciousness, it is very difficult to be sick. And in this expanded state of consciousness, we can then make the body have that experience. Just like whatever conceptualized reality we create, the body has the tangible experience of that. Expand your mind to this point of divinity, of a limitless nature, because it's true. Your body then literally starts to repair itself because it has to. The body follows the mind. It has to. So that, as I said, to me, that's part of the paradigm shift. And when we operate that way, the results that you get they're beyond anything, because now we have a different understanding. We're doing different things. You get a different result.
Now, when you're doing the paradigm shift, it's the mind changing, but emotional traumas are, I would assume, are also mental. So shifting the mind heals the mind, just like it heals the body.
You got it. Yeah, absolutely. So my understanding is that, when we have a thought, right, it's the identification with the thought that gives it its weight. Okay? All thoughts are equal in weightlessness. All of them. They're like a cloud, every thought. It's our believing in the thought that gives it its weight and its gravitas and its dominion over our consciousness by believing in the thought. Now, when we believe in the thought, what's actually happening metaphysically is that we are bathing that thought in emotion through identification. So what's actually happening is we are emotionalizing the thought through the identification with it, right? Now, once we have a thought and we emotionalize it through the identification with it, the bathing of it in the emotion, now we take an action. So it takes those two things this is what I've found through my own higher consciousness, is that those two things have to take place in order for us to make an action. Okay? Now, thoughts and emotions are not what we are. So in other words, we're taking ourselves further and further and further away with every thought and emotion from what we really are. The painter is not the painting. And as we keep thinking and emoting, we're creating a bigger story for ourselves, and we're taking ourselves more and more and more out of alignment. So the key is to be able to do these little things that I just talked about. Pretend you just arrived here, no past, no future. Everything goes back to normal. Now that is the starting point for self-repair and self-healing. You don't heal yourself through thought. You don't heal yourself through emotion. You don't heal yourself through belief either. That's spiritual fiction. You heal yourself prior to those things, because that's what you are prior. The divinity and the perfection is prior to all of that. So that's the starting point. So as you return to that, you're putting yourself back in harmony. The body wants to repair and heal itself. We get a cut, it scabs over, right? New cells are being born constantly. The body wants to repair it. We keep misprogramming it because we haven't gained dominion over the mind. And once we gain dominion over the mind, the energy drops down. Now we're in this meditative state, and now we have some space. Now we can do metaphysical exercises that bring higher frequency energy through our own higher mind right directly into our body.
So if someone's upset, someone's hurt, someone's angry, someone's depressed, someone doesn't feel worthy, call it into question. Who doesn't feel worthy? Well, me, I don't. Who am I? Let that story disappear. It's not you. It's an illusion. It's a spell. And these are the magic tricks that just get rid of it in seconds, and keep doing it. Many of us have had many, many lifetimes and many, many different experiences. And through those things, we have acquired and bought into lots of things that are not palatable to who and what we really are. So every time for these things to be released, you have to question them as they come up. Don't ruminate on them. Don't figure them out. It's pointless. You don't need to. It keeps it around. Mm-hmm. Just question, who is it that feels unworthy? Well, me. I'm the one who feels unworthy. Who am I? All these things will leave. You have to give it the opportunity to leave. As stuff comes up, don't grab it and ruminate on it. Let me figure that out. Let me do this. No, don't touch it. It'll leave you. It doesn't belong to you.
With this podcast, we usually talk about grieving with losing family members from the other side, but I think it's important for people to understand grieving is all encompassing, especially when it comes down to our healing the physical body.
Yeah, what we can think of the book Supercharged Self-Healing and what's taught in there, which people have used to overcome things that they couldn't overcome, mental, emotional, and physical. You can think of this as meditation, various different levels of meditation. And what I have found with myself, as well as with literally thousands of people at this point, is that whatever we have going on, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical, I'd like to say that the human character, or what I call the ego mind identity, is the one that has these issues or difficulties or problems. And as you remove the egoic mind or the egoic personality, the problems that that character or egoic mind had begin to resolve themselves and leave you. So whether it's anxiety, depression, or even some kind of physical challenge, they're all related to the character and to the mental body. And once you start to release the character that has all these problems, the problems start to go away. And so this is really where some of the paradigm shift begins. And it's through meditation, very simple, but yet incredibly profound meditations allow us to move past the limitations that our egoic mind have given us. And along with those limitations of the egoic mind, the subsets of those limitations are sickness and disease, whether mental, emotional, or physical. And as we start to address these things through meditation, they literally resolve themselves.
It's like telling yourself a whole new story and then installing a new story. Am I right?
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. Absolutely. In fact, we could say it's deleting the old story, right? Of I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a diabetic, I'm a manic depressive, I'm whatever it is, I'm an alcoholic, or doesn't matter what it is. It's by deleting that story, the issues that character and story are associated with leave you as well. And so then we start to work with spirit, consciousness, the real self, your essence, sentience, whatever word you want to use. We start to work with our core directly. Now, our core, what we are, doesn't have sickness or disease. The body-mind does. Now, we're not the body-mind. We're this intangible thing that exists within us that once we are connected to this, it can truly have complete dominion over the body-mind. So the book will teach you how to delete the egoic character, the voice in your head that tells you all your limitations and all these things that are wrong with you. And as you start to delete that character, it's really miraculous. The things that are wrong with that character, mental, emotional, or physical, start to leave. And it's very simple, but it's so profound and so tangible. These things, the exercise in the book, because you immediately feel it. You feel a shift in energy. You can actually feel higher frequency energy. You can feel your state of consciousness changing. And so for me, the truth is tangible. And when you work with it, you will actually feel it.
Mm-hmm. I teach meditation, and a lot of times people will go through a whole process of, well, if I'm not my thoughts and I'm not my body, then what am I? And it's funny to get that realization when people, it's like a light bulb moment, and they realize, then they really start to dive deeper into who they actually are, this essence that you're speaking of.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Self-inquiry, right? Meditation, going within and understanding the self. It's the one mandate that existence has. And it is to know thyself and all our infinite possibilities. So by going within and doing meditation, we are actually realizing this self and everything that comes after this self, thoughts, emotions, experiences, even the body, are creations. They're not the self directly, just like the painter is not the painting. Now, we often lose ourselves in our creations. We lose ourselves in our thought patterns. We lose ourselves in our emotions. We lose ourselves in bodily sensations and experiences the body has. Now, I certainly can see and understand why that happens, but it's not the truth, because we're the awareness of those things. And then we then give birth to them through creation by using energy. And the more that we can work with our essence, our core, and the book teaches you definitively how to do that through meditation, any one of our creations can be recreated, or a creation that isn't working for us can be removed. And that's part of what I talk about with the ego mind identity. We create this human character through our identifications. But as we meditate, we start to remove these layers of misperception. And then what remains is this soul, this spirit, this I am. People are familiar with the I am. We come back to this pure awareness, this pure creatorness. And from there, working from there And as that, we can do anything, which includes self-healing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it true that we have to literally detox every single thought that we've got in there?
It sounds quite daunting, but what does happen? Okay, at a certain point, I guess we could say, there's no inner voice. There is no voice in the head. It's gone. I promise you. So the whole thing is healed. The whole thing is let go. There's nothing to work out. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing to repair. Eventually, if you follow these guidelines, instructions, teachings, the wisdom in it, the inner voice is gone. There's no more story that you're telling yourself. There is complete equanimity. There is eternal peace. You have access to everything. It is 24/7 for eternity, clarity, calmness, connectivity, communion, and courage. Once the inner voice is silenced, because the inner voice is not you. That's the electromagnetic interference from a physics perspective of what the ego mind identity is processing. Electromagnetic interference of everything that's broadcast within this low frequency realm. And the voice in your head is the matrix. You are the matrix. The ego mind identity is the matrix. And by working with ourselves in the way that the book lays out and the courses and all this kind of stuff, the inner voice, I promise, eventually it's literally gone. There's nothing to battle. There's nothing to overcome. You don't have to try. Right? It's accomplished. It is done. Now, you could call that self-realization, enlightenment, self-mastery, whatever word you want to use. I don't care. But anyone can do it if they apply themselves properly. And the last thing I want to say about this, excuse me, Peter, is that I don't want anyone to think that, oh, you just snap your fingers. No. This takes fierce dedication. Fierce. This takes an unbreakable will. This is what this takes. I didn't put my body back together and all these diseases on by snapping my fingers. It takes great effort. And anything that takes great effort is worth it. Because the growth comes from the application, not the end result. The growth comes from working with yourself optimally. That's the growth, not the end result. I swear, the end result is irrelevant. It means everything to the ego mind. I get it. But it's nothing. All the evolution, all the growth, all the self-understanding is the process itself. Now, when liberation, whatever word you want to use, liberation, freedom, enlightenment, they're all kind of the same thing. When that becomes the most important thing in your life, you won't be stopped. Nothing will stop you. Nothing. And I mean, not even a destroyed body. Nothing will stop you. Really, what all of us need to learn to do is to be quiet internally. Now, when we're quiet internally, which means not thinking and not emoting, and I realize that's the default setting for human beings, but get the book, it'll teach you how to change that in a second. But if we start to learn how to be very still and quiet inside, the self, what you really are, will speak to you. Your guides and helpers will speak to you. The universe will speak to you. Everything is here. It's just outside of our physical sensory perception. And that's part of the things that we need to understand. We only perceive 0.003 of what exists in the greater reality. Now think about that. 0.003, nothing. We don't see, perceive, or understand really anything. And as we start to tap into the self, the consciousness, the spirit, the veil that blocks this greater reality actually starts to get pulled aside. And this is exactly what happened for me as a kid. It became completely removed upon awakening from life-saving surgery. And I used to say as a kid, if I ever get sick, I'll just heal myself. I used to say that. If you would have asked me back then, how would you do it? I don't know, but I felt it in me. I felt it. I knew it. And when I woke up from surgery, it was like a muscle memory. Everything had returned to me. It's like, oh, I know exactly what to do. And I just started doing it. So we all need to learn how to be present in an effortless fashion. Now, once that becomes our new default setting of being present, we will start to experience all of our wisdom, all of our love, and all of our peace perpetually. And this, to me, is really the point, is to feel the depth of the self. And we'll start to realize that this love, this wisdom, this peace that's inside us is universal. It's the same for everyone. Forget about the body. Forget about what the skin. Forget about the gender. Forget about all that stuff. At the core, we are exactly the same. And when we start to experience this for ourselves, we'll start to recognize this in everyone else. And when that happens, the world will change. Now, when you start to taste that hunger, that insatiable desire to be one with God, that's when you actually become invincible. That's when it happens. So if you're feeling that, stoke that flame, because that flame will burn away everything that you are not. And that is the point. That is the evolution of consciousness. That is the liberation. That is freedom. I have courses on my website that talks about mastering your mental health. Okay, because from my perspective, the real pandemic on this planet is the mental health pandemic.
Agree.
The anxiety and depression that is gripping this planet is breaking my heart. So there's a course on my website called Master Your Mental Health. It gives all these instantaneous exercises that literally takes 2 seconds, and it gives you complete command over your energy. Now, when we have command over our energy, just like what you were talking about, what I was talking about, when the energy is in its quote unquote proper place, okay, think of it as gas in the gas tank, okay? When our energy is in the proper place, it literally sits exactly where you said, just beneath the belly button and above the groin. Now, once you get good, and through those exercises that are in that course or in the book, you'll become a master at it. It's impossible to have anxiety or depression, because anxiety is overuse in the mental body, energy swirling in the mental body. And depression is energy stuck in the emotional body, sitting there, stuck, which is why we can't get over things and why we replay things, why we get stuck on sadness or anger, because it becomes stagnant. So once we learn how to move the energy out of the mental body, out of the emotional body, any kind of mental health issue will be resolved. And we don't need to go the pharmaceutical route. You certainly can if you like, but we don't need to go to the pharmaceutical route. What we actually need is greater self-awareness and a facility to move our energy. And then all issues will be resolved. In a way, you could say that I've been waiting a long time to teaching, and it's not entirely accurate to say I've been waiting, but I've been wanting and desiring to share these teachings with humanity for eons of time. So these are the true teachings of authentic self-mastery. There are what I call the 12 teachings of self-mastery, the 12 eternal truths, the 4 levels of self-realization, and the ascended masters. I'll be talking about the ascended masters in ways that humanity has not had access to before, as well as the true teachings of authentic self-mastery. You're going to be able to move past and tangibly experience your own limitless nature. Now, one of the most important things about these teachings is that it is not informational. So in other words, the classes do not consist of me just rambling on and on and on. Maybe it's entertaining and it's informative. Okay, fine. But this is tangible. With each teaching, I give you a meditation or an exercise for you to experience it yourself. So you experience it yourself. You are going to move past everything that you have allowed to hold yourself back with, because you're going to see right through it. So you get a teaching, an explanation of the teaching, and then we do the exercise and the meditation together. And you tangibly have that aspect of self-mastery. It is now yours. And it's the same with the 12 eternal truths. This is not, I'm not into informational. This must be experiential. You must experience it for yourself. And this is the age that we've moved into. So the teachings are beyond anything that anyone has ever heard. Yeah, okay. I'll go with that. The teachings are beyond, certainly in this timeline, they're beyond anything that anyone has ever heard. And they will free you in ways that you can't imagine. They will empower you in ways that you can't imagine. You will feel more like yourself, maybe for the first time. This may be the first time that you actually have your life, that it is your life. And not just do you get the wisdom and the experiential exercises or meditations to be able to do this for yourself, it's recorded. There's over 100 pages. Yeah, I think well over 100 pages of written documentation. You can watch the classes, the recordings of the classes over and over and over again, which actually most students do. They overdose on the teachings because it's complete and utter liberation from this entire experience. It's not transformational. It's beyond it. These are true teachings of authentic self-mastery, dare I say, taught by, someone who has mastered themselves. So, and one last thing I'll say about it, it's 20 weeks, it's 5 months. It's 5 months, okay? There's nothing like this taught anywhere. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And if you're interested in this, do not hold yourself back. Do not say, I'll wait till next time. No one's guaranteed a next time. And every time we come into contact with something that we really resonate, that we have a deep excitement and passion for, and we don't act upon it, eventually that inner guidance system is going to shut down. What that means is that highest excitement, that resonance, that purpose, that alignment that we feel when we're deeply interested in something and we don't act on it, that signal, because we've ignored it, will eventually die down and we won't even get the signal anymore. We have to act upon these things. We cannot let the little you conquer the big you and just say, oh, no, not this time. Maybe next time. These are one of the things you're going to learn to never, ever, ever, and I'm going to teach you how to never, ever do this again, about denying yourself out of fear or out of some excuse. I can't afford it. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. Yes, you do. If you've come across this course, this class, these teachings, it's because you're destined to. This is not just some mere happenstance. This was planned a long time ago. Don't deny yourself. Don't deny yourself your own passion. Don't deny yourself your own excitement. Don't deny yourself your own resonance, because eventually the signal will cease to come if you don't act upon it. That's the signal to the universe that you're not interested in your own evolution. And you'll cease to get the signal. The inner guidance system just shuts down, because if you're not going to pay attention to it, it'll just stop. So I hope the class is, it starts, what is today? The 6th, the 7th? Yeah, it's in about a week. It'll be the greatest thing that you have ever done for yourself, period. Forget everything you think you know when it comes to health. The health is in you. The healer is within. Just like the tree is in the seedling. Your health is inside you. Okay, metaphysics, alchemy, it brings out what's already there. Your perfection is inside you. Your supreme health is inside you. It's not outside you. It's not in a tincture or in a pill or in a vaccine, or I don't care what it is, or in a crystal. It's not in that. Those are permission slips. It's in you. Give yourself permission to heal, and then avail yourself of proper teachings and enjoy the magic. Once we work with ourselves in this way, it never leaves you. It never leaves you. You have access to your own mastery everywhere you go, forever, for eternity. So the key is it's either the pain of regret or the pain of self-discipline. Now you choose, because you're going to suffer one or the other. The pain of regret. Oh, I could have. Oh, I really wanted to. I'm busy. I can't afford it. There's nothing worse than unrealized potential. It's a personal pet peeve of mine. Unrealized potential, because all of you are infinite, right? So it's either the pain of regret. Oh, I really wanted to, but I talked myself out of it. I played my get out of jail free card and told myself, no, I can't because of X, Y, Z. Or the pain of self-discipline. What does discipline even mean? What does that word mean? It means to learn. A discipline. The discipline of this or the discipline of that. Self-discipline is to learn about the self. And that is the only knowledge that actually exists. That is gnosis. Self-knowledge, self-discipline. These teachings, these courses, these classes operate at the highest levels of self-discipline, self-knowledge, and self-mastery.